have Mr. Chirayu Sharma with us today, guys, for discussing the demystifying field of UX design and the degree program with UX design. So to start off with, if I can give some brief introduction about Chirayu, sir. So he's a customer experience design lead with an industry experience of 11 plus years. And currently he's working as a senior manager at EY, and he's focusing, his work is majorly focusing on industries like FS, insurance and manufacturing. Hello, sir. Good evening and welcome to the webinar.
Hey, hi, good evening. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. I hope you all are doing very well. I'm very glad to be part of this conversation. Yeah, and thank you for inviting me. So yeah, let's see how we want to go about it.
So, sir, to start off with, if you can just brief our students a little bit about the field of design, user experience design, and a little bit about your journey into the industry as well. If you can start off with that.
Sure. Right off the bat, let me just start with my introduction, as you've already introduced myself. So I'm a senior manager working with EY for almost 4 years. But in total, I have an industry experience of 11 plus years. So guys, I started my journey as a B.Tech graduate and as an engineer. But right after completing 1 or 2 years in the industry, I figured that my inclination or my interest lied in evaluating customer experiences and building beautiful experiences and meaningful journeys for the user. And that is the time when I went ahead. I did certain courses online, offline. I also did a course from ImaginXP, and then I started my journey in this industry, where I have worked in several companies, including Siemens, Syntel, HCL, and now working at EY. At EY, I've been working as a consultant, a full-time consultant. And my job at EY is to look after several deliveries in India and at global scale. I lead teams of several UI UX designers, user researchers, usability testers, as well as service designers to build meaningful products and customer experiences for projects in sectors like financial sectors, insurance, retail, and manufacturing. So that is a brief introduction. Now, what I can talk about today is, because I have been in product companies, in service-based companies, and now working in a consultancy, and have also worked with one of the design studios in India. I understand, how different teams and different projects are done in different circumstances, and how a designer has to get established in the overall ecosystem of delivering a project in these different teams. So yeah, that would be a crux of it. And I think in India, because it's exciting times in India, a lot of people and a lot of companies actually have started becoming user first, started considering customer experience as a key parameter to become successful in the market. So there is no doubt about whether UX should be part of the delivery, whether UX teams should be there as part of your overall team infrastructure or not. Every team that we talk to or we deal with, everyone is asking for UX designers and people who can help them build meaningful customer experiences, customer journeys, which will enable them to build good brand loyalty and brand recognition in a longer period of time. So I think the future looks pretty bright in the UX world. My intent in today's workshop would be to give you a brief on what is it that a UX designer does in a typical team infrastructure. What do they what do they think? What do they have to consider while they are working on a project? There's a lot of content that you can find online, right? But the crux would always remain the same, whether you work in a design studio, in a consultancy, in a product-based company, or in a service-based company. So that is the crux is something we can probably discuss on the call. I just want to keep this session very crisp at a very high level. Didn't want to deep dive into the nitty-gritties and technicalities of UI UX design, because there are lots of it. But just to because I understand a lot of you are aspiring UI UX designers and are aspiring to pursue your B.Des and M.Des degrees in this space. So just to give you an essence and a flavor of what a UX designer or a design lead does in the industry. So I thought maybe I'll just put together a few slides and take you through it in today's session. So let's start with today's session, guys. I just want to don't want to dwell into a lot of details, but yeah, let's discuss about what is user experience. You must be knowing about it already. I'm very sure about it, but just to be on the same page and understand what UX is. Then we'll talk about the art and science of UX design, the things that the designers typically keep in mind or have to consider while they are working on the UX design projects in the various circumstances. Then we'll talk about importance of UX in product development and how the teams are structured, where there are different members coming together and then developing or working on a project or a product. I'll brief touch on UX usability and emotional design and why is it important in today's world and how we can leverage it to make more meaningful experiences and help build more meaningful customer emotions. And then the last piece is measuring UX success. I wanted to include it as part of this overall presentation because I feel a lot of times while we develop and design UX and UI artifacts and assets, most of the times we miss on measuring the UX success and the key KPI and the matrix, which can actually help you evaluate the work that you have done and how successful your design is. So that is the last bit that we'll briefly touch upon. So let me just move ahead in the journey. What is user experience? We understand user experience is what a user experiences when they touch or they get in or when they feel when they use a product or a service, either in physical or in digital space. Now, the overall feeling that a user gets when they use a service or a product is what user experience in simple and in a layman's language is, I would say. User experience typically could be in the physical and the digital space, but because a lot of products that we see in the world are digital, that's why we typically say digital experience or digital user experience. And that's why user experience in today's world is, very tightly related to the digital products that you see. But it could also be about the chair that you are sitting on. It could be about the laptop that you're using, or maybe the experience of a dashboard of your car, right? It could be physical in nature as well. But just because today's products are more digital, UX is very tightly used for the digital products. Now, some of the things that UX encompasses is like including usability, accessibility, functionality, and emotional impact. So it's a holistic view, and it factors in all the different angles that a user is actually using that product and how they are feeling about that experience and how they are whether they are satisfied or not, whether they like your product or not, or would they recommend your product in future or not. UX, as everyone knows, plays a pivotal role in determining customer satisfaction and fulfilling users' needs. So if UX is created keeping in users' pain points, needs, their behavioral aspects, and their psychological aspects in mind, it will definitely create a positive impact, and it will create a brand value and a recognition for your product, so that the users would always come back and keep reusing the service or the product. Moving on, the art and science of UX design. Now, there could be a lot of complexities around it, but I would like to start with the art of UX. A brief touch on this particular piece, like, can UX evoke expression of art? A lot of designers, a lot of artists are using UX platform or UX design as a platform to express their artistic nature. You would see a lot of websites which have played with amazing illustrations, micro animations, visuals, and stock image. just to express their emotions and their art, right? Uh, so a lot of artists, a lot of designers actually come from an artistic background because they understand that UX or art can actually evoke certain expressions and certain emotions so that it feels more compelling, it feels more associated, and it feels more vibrant in nature. So a lot of you'll see this kind of art being shown or being uh, developed on a lot of websites, maybe a lot of tools as well. But art can also be done in the physical world. It's not just have to be limited to a UX or a digital world. You can also see it in the real physical world. For example, a new age electric car, which was uh, which was not possible almost 10 years back, could be considered as an expression of art of a typical engineer, of a typical electric engineer, because they built a, a beautiful structure of batteries. They built a beautiful arrays of battery to replace the fossil fuel, that is the gas or petrol, and to help create an all electric car, right? So that too can be an expression of art. Now, if I were to give you an example, typically you would see it on a lot of retail websites or websites of retail products. One of the examples is your Apple website. If you go on the website, you will see how beautifully they have laid out their products and how enticing it is for the users to just look at those images, look at the products that they have launched, and feel associated. Uh, and it evokes an emotion of wanting more, right? It evokes an emotion like you want to have it or you want to be a part of their world. So if you go on this website, one thing that you'll see is that they do not talk about the features in detail right on the front page. They are just playing with an array of images. They are just introducing their products because their products are so elite. Their products are are full with such a finesse that they don't have to market anything else. They just have to play with the way, the visual play of the product is so strong that it feels compelling for the users to be a part of their world, right? Another example is Tesla. If you go to their website, you will see that they have just put up this landscape view of their Model 3 right on the top banner of their landing page of the website. Not They're not screaming any features. They are not screaming at what you will get, or what are the what are the amazing features, even though it has some of the industry leading features in the car. But no, they have used this entire real estate to showcase their expression of art. There is a So you can see, because it's an electric vehicle, they have used a landscape which is a natural landscape. It has a green lush mountain, sky, water in the background, right? Because they want to create this association of nature, and something which is natural and which is not destroying your natural habitat. And at the center, you see this amazing sleek Model 3 car, which just beams out of this poster. And that is what they have done. And this is, you'll see on their entire website, right? So it's an expression of art for a lot of designers, where they choose not to put a lot of content or not to put a lot of verbose or technical detail, but just to play subtly with certain elements to make that impression, to give you a feel of eliteness and the feeling of wanting this product more, right? Because a lot of times you would hear that more is less. So that is what the expression of art sometimes enable on these digital products. So yeah, so and there could be a lot of different websites that you can refer to, or maybe a lot of different products that you can refer to. Art also means that it's not just in using a visual theme or how you put your product across on the website, but also if you can, let's say, beautifully, you can simplify a very complicated banking journey. So let's say today, if you want to send some funds uh, from India to some other country, if today that process is very complicated, can you create a very simplified, very easy process for all these NRI customers to enable them do that process very quickly and to help them come and use your service more frequently? That too can be an expression of art, right? So there are different ways of doing it, but yeah, I just wanted to touch upon this uh, very key aspect of how, because a lot of you could be coming from the same background, an artistic background. Some of you could be hardcore graphic designers, visual designers, uh, could be in photography. You could be people who are good at sketching. So you could use this platform to share your emotions and to showcase the strength of your product through your artistic nature. Moving on, the science of UX. Okay, so while we have discussed about art, which of course can be part of UX, the science of UX is a very, very crucial element. I feel a UX without science is not going to succeed, and any UX backed by science, will result in customer acceptance. So the moment you start designing your product, or you start working on the design, science, logic, design principles, design strategy, this is what you have to keep in mind to make your designs or to make your product successful. Now, UX as a scientific discipline relies on research, data analysis, and evidence-based decision making. So like me, all of you on the call would have certain inclination towards certain things. Your way of thinking would be different from my way of thinking. So I would design a certain product very differently from someone from the call, right? But how we should make sure that the product or the design would succeed. To do that, you will have to keep in mind the users for which you are trying to design that product. You will do user research, you will try to get the insights, you'll try to analyze their behavior if the product or the experience is already in the market, and you'll try to put together all those data points and see what is it that the user is talking about, what is the voice of customer, and how can you then create opportunities and digital touch points to then to then create design strategy and then start designing your product. So research is a crucial aspect of UX. Then applying those and once you have identified the pain points, the customer journeys, and the digital interventions, you would then create your design strategy. Now, the design strategy should be based around, of course, the business goals. What is it that the business wants to achieve? How would you like your user to use your product? But it should also play around the psychological principles and cognitive science of the user. So, for example, you're all on Instagram. Now, Instagram application has a peak of user engagement during certain hours in a day, right? And why does it happen? So it is said, I might be wrong, but the duration of 7 to 8 p.m. During night is where you'll see, a spike in the user engagement. Similarly, there's a time in the morning, which is around 10 to 11 a.m., where there is again a spike in user engagement on Instagram. Same is the case with LinkedIn, but LinkedIn timings are different. So the LinkedIn timings are around 8 to 9 or 9 to 10 a.m. in the morning. And then during night, it's later. So which is around 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. or, something like that. But there is a psychological principle that why is that happening? Because, while Instagram is more of a social media app, right? A lot of people use it when they want to kill their time, or they just want to take a step back and just want to relax. Whereas LinkedIn is it's more of a professional platform where people really go there when they are very clear in their mind what they are doing, and they're very serious about visiting that platform. So you have to understand how, and accordingly, the product designer of an Instagram and LinkedIn would start showing the promotions, would start showing certain interactions on those apps based on this data as to how the user is, how and when the user is coming onto that platform. So we also have to keep in mind these psychological and cognitive sciences so that we create right set of experiences. Now, typically, for any designer anywhere in the world, before they start building the product, they would start they would start defining certain design principles, right? And these design principles would be based on certain user research and product needs. Sorry, I see a hand raised. If anybody wants to, okay. In the meantime, I'll just continue. So, guys, so typically any designer who starts who would start working on a project, they would define certain design principles to keep in mind and to follow throughout the design phase, right? Now these design principles, there are a lot of them, lots and lots of them, but it would depend on the type of product that you're designing, and the type of company you are in, or the service that you are designing. So if it's a digital product, if it's for, let's say, an e-commerce or a retail product experience, then these could be some of the some of the design principles that you could keep in mind. These are standard design principles like accessibility, layout, typography and iconography, modern and minimalistic design, visual hierarchy, visibility and discoverability, navigation, visibility of system status, and aesthetics, right? These are also they also make part of your design or heuristic evaluation parameters. But you can always mix and match these design principles based on the type of need of your product, and based on the pain points of your customers, right? Now, accessibility could play a very crucial role when you are designing a portal or a website or an app for a government sector, or maybe for a financial sector, or maybe for an insurance sector, because a lot of the customers are people who are elderly, people who have been in this industry for a long time, and maybe might not be as technical savvy as the younger generations are. So accessibility, giving them freedom to, let's say, increase font size, change colors, voice enabled assistance, right? Could be some of the features that you would like to build in. Okay. Modern and minimalistic design could be a key principle if you are designing your website or your mobile app for new age customers, right? If, let's say, you are building a product or a mobile app, which has to compete with one of the leading fintechs in India, then it has to be minimalistic in design. It has to compete with the likes of Cred, with the likes of GPay, right? I wouldn't call Cred as a minimalistic design, but yeah, GPay is a minimalistic design, right? I mean, accordingly, visual hierarchy keeps, plays a very important role when it comes to getting users' attention, right? Because naturally, all humans are attracted by hierarchy, whether it's in buildings, it's in the desktop, the laptop that you are using. It's the way you see the books stacked up in a library. Visual hierarchy makes a very huge impact in your subconscious mind. Okay, and similarly, there are other principles, but the idea is that you have to define design principles before you start designing or start working on your project. Okay, so once you have defined your design principles, the next step, typically in our in my experience, and how I've seen other designers also do, is define opportunity areas to enhance customer experience. Now, depending on the product, the service, the demography, and where you are serving, or where your product would be getting launched, you can build certain opportunity areas to enhance customer experience and to attract customers. Now, these are some of the examples I have just laid out on the screen. Like, for example, building trust, okay, could be one of the opportunity areas. If, let's say, I create a reward and a loyalty program for my customers, so that every time they do a certain transaction, or every time they come to my mobile app, if they are getting rewarded, right, they'll feel, and they'll feel that they are being treated treated importantly. Sorry, I think someone is raising their hand. If there's a question, please feel free to ask.
Uh, so there is a very good question which has been raised basis on the previous discussions you
Okay.
were having. There's a student, Janvi, she wants to know about some basic differences between product design and UX design. And also if is the knowledge of applied science, is it used in the field of UX design as well? That is what she want to ask as well.
Yeah. All right. All right. I'll tell you. A good question. A good question. See, the major difference between a product design and UX design is a lot of times what we see is product design is in the physical world. UX design is mostly associated with the digital products. Okay. Uh, Product, you can, so, but now, these terminologies have become so commonly and interchangeably used across industry. So there's a very thin line between these two. But in my understanding, product design is, uh, it focuses more on physical object, right? It could also be considered for a let's say designing a mobile app, or let's say a website, or maybe an interaction or a tool, right? Uh, but I'll tell you a few more, or if I can add a few more nuances. For example, if I have to design a chair, right? Uh, the way I'll start designing this product would be equivalent, or would be very same to designing a mobile app. So for designing a chair, I'll need to interview my customers. I'll at least need to, interview certain people across certain age groups, right? To understand what kind of, chairs do they like, or how do they feel comfortable? How much time do they spend on a chair, right? Any example in the world that, they can refer to, like what do they like? It's an office chair, a hardwood chair, or maybe a soft leather chair, right? Similarly, you'll have to do that kind of a research for your mobile app, for your digital product as well. You'll have to try to gather the insights from the market, and as well as from the users. Then the second step that comes, if I were to compare these two things parallelly, in product design in a physical world, you will start sketching. You'll start creating some sketches of your chair, the ergonomics, how it should look like, what should be the material, what should be the texture of the of that seat. Similarly, in the digital world, you'll start creating visual concepts of your mobile app, the visual design library, the visual concepts, right? And you'll start creating your design ideas on those lines. Uh, so these are the two different differences that I feel are there, in a product design and a UX design. You'll have to do usability testing for both the products. Even for the chair, once you have built a prototype, you'll have to ask at least 5, 6, or 10 people to sit on it for a couple of hours and give you, or not, or for a couple of minutes, and give you a feedback. Similarly, in the mobile app, you'll have to ask your users to, evaluate your early design flows and give you early feedback. So yeah, and the applied sciences it does get, it is used in the product design as well as in UX design, because but morely in I would say in the product design, because you have to think of the postures, the physicalities, the ergonomics, uh, the science behind how does a human anatomy works, how do you stand, how do you have to put your pressure on your legs, the back posture and all those things. In the UX world, you have to think about the psychology, the behavior, right? Whether a user would be attracted on a white screen or on a black screen, if a user is working in, let's say, in a closed room, or is working on an open environment. So what kind of a screen would be more visible to them, right? Whether they are elderly or whether they are young in age, right? Accordingly, you can create your interactions and your design components. So yes, these are the few things that you have to keep in mind while designing the two things. But I think these days, these two words are being used interchangeably, across the industry. So there's a very, very thin line between these two words. I hope I've answered your question. If there's anything else, just let me know.
Sir, I am extremely sorry to interrupt. There is another interesting question which I feel that you should answer, is that is from Amrench Pandey, and
Okay.
he wants to ask about how we can redesign the web applications, and how usability problems are fine according to the UX laws, how it is done. So that's an question as well.
Sorry. Could you just can I Amresh Pandey? How can I redesign any web or app? How can I find out the usability problems? Okay, all right. I'll take this one up. Amresh, see, I'll tell you. Uh, there are two ways. See, how can I redesign any web app? There are multiple ways of redesigning. Of course, if you just typically follow a UX design, a 6D design, or any design methodology, which starts from, let's say, discover phase, where you have to first interview your users. You have to identify certain insights, their pain points, users' expectations, right, and how they are behaving. So you can start picking up those points and start creating your design strategy, your design pillars, right? And then you can start creating, and then of course you'll have to do certain some amount of competitive benchmarking. Is there any app or is there any existing product which is already in the market, and you could probably refer to it? Okay, that is the way we typically start. There are a lot of other nuances, but just to let you know. But to the second part of the question, to find out usability problem according to UX laws. So there are two ways of doing it. One is, as a designer, you can do a heuristic evaluation of the product or the mobile app, right? So a typical UX a heuristic evaluation would follow the 10 parameters that I just am showing on the screen, right? So the quickest way of doing a usability analysis of that app would be to go through each and every component, each and every journey, and each and every screen of that app, and just see if these laws or these principles are being followed thoroughly or not. Okay, for you as a designer to do this activity, you'll really need to be cognizant of what these principles stand for, what do they mean literally, right? And for you to be well trained to do that activity. The second way of doing a usability testing is where you do a one-on-one interview with a customer or with a user. So typically what we, it's a very standard practice, but what we do is, let's say I have designed a mobile app and I have certain journeys and certain screens ready with me. What we do is, we let's say we shortlist certain customers, and we take our screens or our prototype on mobile or on desktop, and we sit with the user and we give them certain activities to perform. Okay, so typically what we do is we observe them. We do not interrupt them, but we observe them while they are doing certain activities. So for example, if it's a FinTech mobile app, right, we would ask them, okay, you just open my prototype, and this is my landing page. Now start making a UPI payment or start making a fund transfer. And then we just sit side by side or maybe on a virtual call, and we just observe them. What is it that they are doing, right? And we also ask them to read aloud while they are working on that screen, so that we can understand that what is it that they're thinking while they're on that screen. So we'll typically just observe them, that where is it that they are looking, right? What problems are they facing? Are they able to navigate through that journey properly or not? Is there any help required while they're finishing that job or not? So this is a typical usability testing that we do with the users early on, in the design phase, so that we can capture this insight and we can implement it before the product goes live. Yeah, so I hope it has answered your question. So Samara, there is soft skill is a very separate thing. I think what you need to work on is the UX UI design skill. There are a lot of different things that you'll have to work on. Understanding customer empathy, understanding customer behavior, learn about design thinking, right? Learn about user-centric design approach. Learn about how to create customer journey maps, empathy maps, how to capture their emotions, their feelings, and then the other aspect of visual designs, interaction designs, right? Then those are the skills that will be there that you'll have to learn. All right. So yeah, I think it helps. Great, guys. But yeah, keep bringing in the questions. I'm feeling really good about it. So going on, yeah. So these are some of the those opportunity areas that we can always identify for us to design the product. Wow your customer, or maybe create a self-assistive experience, seamless payment journey, And yeah, gamification and engagement. Gamification nowadays has become a very crucial aspect because it plays with the psychology of a user. It builds habits, it builds engagement through content or through elements which are used in a typical game, game or a gamification or a game product or a tool, I would say. Okay. So yeah, so these could be some of your opportunity areas. Moving on, UX design process. So as I just mentioned, this is a typical these are typical steps that we have to follow when we are working on a UX design project. There are more steps to it, there are more activities that you will have to do, but at a higher level, this is what everyone ends up doing. Okay, so the first point is understanding the user, where you conduct user research, you create personas, you define user goals, you create a customer value proposition, you create a prioritized feature list, and you try to see that what is it that you want to achieve on, and what are those points or digital touch points where you should create delightful experiences for your user. Okay, second is information architecture. So in a digital product design space, information architecture is important to create a mental model for your users to understand the journeys, understand your product. So for example, information architecture would be, how do you lay out your, let's say, hamburger menu? How do you lay out the information or the different elements which are there on your dashboard, right? And how do you flow from one place to another on your mobile app or on your website, right? So all those aspects are covered in information architecture. In a nutshell, I would say information architecture is the skeleton of your digital product or your digital tool, and it helps create the journeys easily in future. Okay. Third is interaction design. This is I would say the meat, or the crux of the UX design. So this is interaction and visual design actually. So interaction design is that where you start creating the task flows, where you start creating steps, right? As to how the user has to, let's say, start a journey, what all steps would be part of the journey, right? Whether it would be a 4-step journey, 3-step journey, 2-step journey, whether it has to be a horizontal scroll or a vertical scroll, right? It has to be a card interaction, or whether it has to be a long list or something like that, right? So these wireframes are something which would start giving you an idea as to how how your concept is going to look like, right? And you can then share these wireframes to review and to discuss with the stakeholders to get their early feedback before you jump into the visual design. Next step is visual design, where you would typically create a UI library. You would look at beautiful micro animations, the questions like an illustration or an iconography, or maybe stock images versus an iconography, something like that, right? What should be your design language should be? What should be your color palette look like? What kind of CTAs do you want to choose? Cornered CTAs or rounded CTAs, card elements or something like that. Okay. And then the final one is usability testing, where you have to evaluate the designs that you have created by testing it with the actual users. This is one of the examples of a usability testing, right? That I was just mentioning. So this is how you observe that, where is it that the customer is clicking on, which CTAs are being clicked on, whether they are accessing the nav bar or not, right? Whether they are reading the copy that you have put up. And the same, while you do it on the web view, you would also do it on a mobile view. And accordingly, then you can take decisions that what needs to be tweaked, what needs to be changed in the design, so that it is more optimized for the user. The other aspect is that when you're designing, you will have to keep in mind the different platforms and the form factors. So if you are designing a website, you'll have to keep in mind that it has to be web and responsive. If you are creating a mobile app, you'll have to account for the different types of mobile form factors that your users typically use, right? While you cannot cater to all form factors, but you'll have to see that, it caters to, let's say, the top 70 or 80% form factors, so that, majority of your users are satisfied with the experience. Okay. And accordingly, you'll have to tailor certain things like, a lot of things, a lot of times you are not able to make components or design naturally responsive. So you might have to create certain elements for certain screens on certain form factors, or maybe on certain. So for example, there's a view on the website which can be responsively created for mobile. But when it comes to tablet, you might have to design it a little differently, okay? So that it becomes more optimized for a user who is accessing it on a tablet. One of the examples I just wanted to quote here is of Airbnb. Now, see, Airbnb's landing page has this banner on top where it shows a beautiful Airbnb space, and it asks you, to find places to stay on Airbnb. So you can put in your location, check-in, check-out date, people visiting, and then click on search. But if you go to their mobile view, the way they have showcased this data is very different. They upfront start showing you these certain Airbnb spaces, right, where you can start exploring. So because everyone understands that on mobile, people are very comfortable with a vertical scroll. It has now become a second nature for them, and people like to explore on mobile. So they upfront show these spaces to entice users and to show them that we have such beautiful properties at Airbnb. And now if you typically want to search a particular location, you can then go to that top search bar and can click on it, and then you'll find the same pop-up appearing on your mobile screen. Similarly, what they've also done is they've also categorized these Airbnb spaces in some very unique ways. Like you can search these findings on basis on rooms, farms, amazing pools, new cabins, maybe pet friendly, futuristic homestays, something like that. So they have curated this list of categories so that you can simply click on it. So let's say I've got bored and I just want to go somewhere, but I'm not sure of. I can just go through this category and can start exploring the beautiful and amazing places which are there on Airbnb. So that is how they have tried to manage the experiences differently on web and the mobile view. Okay. All right. So moving on, importance of UX in product development. Um, Typically, a UI UX designer or a user researcher would be working with all these people that I'm showing on the screen: a product manager, your business stakeholders, actual leadership team, marketing team, okay, and yeah, a scrum master and developers, right? So typically, you would either be working in a company which follows agile delivery model, or a design studio for say, or maybe in a service-based company. But in all these circumstances, you would be interacting with one or more of these guys, which are there, which are shown on the screen. Product manager typically looks into the end-to-end delivery of the product. Business stakeholders are your stakeholders from the client, or they could be your end client, or maybe a company for which you are designing that product for. Leadership could be the CEOs, CMOs, CDOs, right? Who has the last word and who gives the final approval on the designs. Marketing team and sales team typically, start giving you feedback early on, because marketing team is very closely associated with the designs of websites and mobile app. Scrum master is someone who would be, helping you in delivering your projects, and development team, of course, is a crucial element people who have to, design your product. Now, if I were to, give you a very bird's eye view on this overall architecture, so you can consider UI UX design at atomic level, where maybe a team of designers is working, or maybe a single designer is working as a individual contributor. Okay. Now this UI UX design team or designer would then be working very closely with the other design functions. So it could be a process design function, it could be a service design function, and all these functions, UI UX, process design, and service design, would come together to create a holistic customer experience for that product. Okay. This customer experience team then works back with the other functions of the overall project team. So once you work in tandem with your customer experience functions, you will also have to work with technology, architect team, business rule team, maybe security, scalability, developers, DevOps guys. So there could be a lot of dynamics here, but the idea is to tell you that it's a teamwork, and that, as a UI UX designer, you're just part in that overall team, right? And there are a lot of different people who would be coming from different functions to work on and to help you in delivering your product to success. The other aspect is, how do we deliver? So, in an agile world, a lot of companies have started using agile delivery. If I'm sure a lot of you would be aware of it, but if you're not, just go through, how agile delivery is done and how designers are working in an agile world. So typically what happens is, the agile framework has sprints defined. Every sprint would have, so every team would have, let's say, 6 or 7 or 8 team members, one a UX designer, a scrum master, a developer, project manager, right? Someone from a BA, a process designer, something like that, okay? And there would be, so let's say the project is spread across a period of 6 months. You could have, in that period, you could have, let's say, 10, 12 sprints. Every sprint varies from, let's say, 15 to 21 days. And then every designer has to work with the people in that pod or in that sprint towards a particular goal. So the sprint happen. The entire team comes together. They discuss various user stories, responsibilities, right? And they discuss the questions or queries early on, so that everyone is on the same page. Once that is done, so that once that is done, the designers start working on the design process, usability testing, wireframing, visual designs, creating prototypes. Then these prototypes are then shared with the dev team, where you have to test it with dev team and look at the feasibility, whether what you have designed makes sense or not, and whether it would fly or not. You would get certain iterations, you would get certain feedback, and you would come to know about certain aspects that you can change or you will need to change basis the requirements and basis the feasibility, which is done in the next stage. And then once the final product is created or designed, you then move on to the usability testing and gathering insights from the users. And then, of course, helping dev team to launch that product. The next step is, so in every sprint, you would have certain amount of work to be done. If there is any spillage, if there is anything which got left out, it would get considered in a backlog, and that backlog gets added to the next sprint. And all these steps, keep on repeating till the end of the project. And ultimately, this is how the teams work together in an agile delivery world. Okay. Yeah. So moving on to the next section, UX, usability, and emotional design. I thought it would be interesting to also talk about usability. So while we very closely focus on the UX, right? Usability is something which is simpler, but we tend to miss out on it. So a lot of times we create amazing visuals, amazing interactions, but we tend to miss out on the usability. So usability typically means how easy it is for a user to complete certain task or to complete certain journey and be successful. Okay. So let's say if there's a screen, if I were to complete a transaction, a UPI transaction, if I'm creating beautiful visuals and animations, but it is taking a lot of time to load that screen or to do that transaction, the usability aspect gets compromised. So you have to always consider that the usability, whatever you design for, it is very simplistic, it has clarity, it has consistency, and it allows the user to share feedback so that you can always improve on your designs. One of the usability aspect, I just want to share with all of you is it's in NBKC Bank. NBKC Bank is a US based leading bank, and one of the things that they have done is, upfront on their landing page, they have provided this feature of accessibility. So, this is for people who would have certain physical challenges, or it could be, seizure, it could be some challenges with vision impairment, or, ADHD or cognitive disability. So they allow user to switch on and off these controls, and the website would accordingly, behave. So I would suggest all of you to go to this website and check out these features that they have given on the website. It's a beautiful example of inclusivity, of accessibility, and how we should design our products and our experiences for all types of users and all types of differently abled customers. So this is what a good example of usability look like. Okay. Now, talking about emotional design is something which nowadays a lot of people have started talking about. So there's a research which says user responds 3 times more to products that resonate with them emotionally. Okay, a lot of places you would start seeing that people have started celebrating the culture, have started celebrating your ethnicity, they have started celebrating your physicalities, right? And it's not in the digital world only, it is also in the physical world. The products, right? There are earlier there used to be only 3-4 your t-shirt or jean sizes. Now they come in a varied range of sizes. Okay, similar, because that plays with the emotion, that helps user to emotionally attach with your brand. And similarly, in the design world, we try to create experiences with inclusivity and try to evoke emotions so that they feel associated, so that they feel safe, that this is a product I can trust, this is the product I really feel associated to. Storytelling and narrative is again a very important aspect. There would be a lot of mobile apps and websites, which very upfront talk about their feature. And then there would be ones that talk about customer, that have, two-way communication open. They are like more empathetic. They are like forgiving in nature. They speak back. Okay. They speak in your language. They don't speak in the technical jargons. Okay. So that storytelling part, right? Making you feel human, right? And understanding you through the product is what the emotional design is all about. Just to give you a quick example of how Google Pay and Dunzo have done, and a lot of other brands are also doing it. It's an example which is very prevalent across digital products nowadays. But see how Google has done it. So Google has, on their mobile app, they have given this visual element where it shows a small time vendor on his cart, right? There are buildings, there are these autos that we have in India, which gives you a feeling of belonging. Okay, Google is an international company, but I'm sure they must be doing it for all the other geographies in their local tools and products. So they've made you feel safe. They've made you feel associated. So anyone from a tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3 city, they would all feel associated. They haven't shown anyone, an entrepreneur or someone who has opened up, let's say, a new new company, or who are very well off, right? Or have created a visual element on that. They have created visual elements on the common man, on people who are using it on a daily basis, right? Because that is the larger chunk of their customers, and they want them to feel associated. So it's an emotional connect that they want to build, right? Similarly, in Dunzo, you would see how they have celebrated their delivery agents, right? Now look at the element of a man and a lady. It's not just a man who has been shown as a delivery agent, but also as a lady. So it's an aspect of inclusivity. They're also promoting ladies, or female agents, if I may say, to be part of this delivery ecosystem, right? So that it becomes, and they're also saying that it's safe if you work with us in this particular area. Okay, they're giving you that confidence, and they are also celebrating this fact that there are people, there are so many female or lady agents who are working with us. You would also see that on their Dunzo mobile app, they have also given beautiful micro animations. Like if you're waiting on the mobile app, there would be a buffalo sitting on a street, right, chewing on some grass, giving you a sense of like, yeah, there could be a delay because the agent is going through all these things. So they have used these elements to evoke emotions and to make you feel associated, and give you a sense that yes, we understand you. Okay, we have seen you, we understand you, we are not very far away, we are sitting somewhere near in an office and then designing this tool. So that's how you play with the emotions, right? Celebrating their ethnicity, culture, and values. Okay. Now the last bit of the presentation is measuring UX success. So, while you can work on the entire universe of UX UI design, the various design principles, design pillars, strategy, okay, but at the end of the overall engagement or project, there will have to be certain KPIs or metrics that you will have to, or you should map, or refer to see the success of your design. Okay, so there could be a lot of such KPIs or parameters that you can evaluate to see whether you succeeded in your design, whether your design is doing as it was expected or not, and then can take certain steps to change those the things which are not working in the market. So some of those elements could be like and these are some of the parameters which are also available on Google Analytics. So if you have launched your website or your mobile app, you can actually integrate Google Analytics and can get these KPIs mapped over a certain period of time of the product. Okay, so KPIs like improved conversion rate, longer session duration, increased NPS, okay, increased screen time, lower bounce rate, and reviews and subscriptions can give you a high level idea as to how users are behaving on your product, how they are using it, whether they are satisfied or not, right? Whether they are sticking to your application or not. Okay, you can also compare this data, the data of these KPIs before redesign and after redesign. So for example, if the conversion rate has gone up by 10% or by 20%, that means that that your users are able to complete crucial journeys like signups, bill payments, and fund transfers easily, right? That means that people are able to complete journeys and are they do not need any help in the journey. Longer session duration means that you have engaging content. Okay, you have gamification done, you have engaging content, you have a lot of blogs and videos that people are looking at, right? That means stickiness is going up, which is good for you because you want your customers to be on your platform so that you can cross sell, you can upsell, you can show them some more products, and you can engage them better. Okay, increased screen time again is one of the indicators, but increased screen time, it again talks about the content and the features that you have built for your products. So for example, if someone is using your is going through the products that you have shown on your mobile app again and again, it means they are interested, right? They are reading your content and they want to buy it or they want to purchase it. Lower bounce rate is again an important aspect. Lower bounce rate means that let's say your bounce rate reduces. It means that people are staying again on your mobile app for a longer time. So bounce rate typically talks about the amount of time that a user is spending on your mobile app before they log off or before they moves out, right? So a reduced bounce rate means that your design is doing fine. It is self explanatory, and users are able to complete their journeys. And also positive positive reviews on the App Store or on your Google Store can actually help you gauge the customer feedback at a higher level very quickly. And also the rate of increased subscriptions means that they are interested in your product and they are actually responding to the psychology that you tried to build in your product. So, and there could be n number of such KPIs and metrics that you can try to map after you have gone live and after you have launched your product. But this is a key aspect, and I cannot just emphasize enough on this thing, that a design is incomplete without, is incomplete without getting it validated. So if you haven't validated your design and the success of your design, it is as good as, anyone designing anything. So yeah, so this is the last piece I just wanted to talk about. And yeah, with this, I've come to an end, and I think I'm open to any questions if we have.
That was very, very informative, sir. Guys, if we, for a last session, last part of the session, if you have any queries, or if you want to ask any question, please feel free to ask those questions. You can use the chat box, or you can just raise your hand, and you can just unmute yourself and then ask your question. Meanwhile, sir, we have yeah, there is a question from Janvi regarding that. She want to know about the end clients. What is end clients?
Sorry, end clients. Who are the end clients? Is the
Yes.
what the question is? So typically, we refer to end clients who would be using your product directly. So, for example, if Google has designed a mobile app for UPI payments, and if I'm using it to make UPI payment on a shop, kirana wala shop, then I'm the end client. Okay. Uh, a kirana wala shop could also be an end client for them, because they have built a merchant mobile app, okay, where they can uh, accept the payments, okay. But typically, end client is the person who would be, or the agency who would be using your product eventually, okay. So that's what I feel I've answered the question. But yeah, that's who the end clients are.
Uh, there is another question, sir, where Samaira wants to know. She actually wants your opinion about this. That she wants to work into the field where she can design products which brings ease to the user and
Mhm.
also add value to the company and society. So she just want your opinion whether UX design is a better field or product design is a better field for her in that way.
I think UX design. See, you can start with UX design anytime, and then can eventually get into product design if you want. But I feel a lot of steps are common between the two. Okay, but UX design, because it is being used primarily for the digital experiences these days, and everything that you see, every new thing that is being launched is digital. So getting into UX is the best way of serving the society, creating some amazing and meaningful experiences, and creating certain products. Now, I might design a mouse. Okay, I might like to design a mouse. That could be a product design. Okay, uh, but then there's a way to do it, and there's a certain time that it takes to deliver that product. UX design, I think, because it happens in sprints in an agile way, it happens more quickly, and it will give you more room to explore and express your art, as we discussed earlier, and express your the way you want to design meaningful experiences and products for the customers. Can you physical products? No, it's not very easy, because I have worked with physical product designers in the physical world as well as UX designers. These are slightly different things. Not slightly, but I would say heavily different things. UX designers typically work with the ideology and principles of how someone interacts on a digital platform, whereas a physical product is something you have to work on the ergonomics, human anatomy, how, or maybe physics at times, right? Let's say you are building a fridge, or maybe a television or table. You have to work on the physics part as well. So physical product design is something different than UX design for sure. What's NPS? It's Net Promoter Score. NPS stands for, yeah, Net Promoter Score. It means how willingly your customers are would recommend your product to other people, and how loyal they are to your product. So that is what NPS stand for. NPS has different parameters to map, but a higher NPS would means that users are satisfied with your products, and they have they are very loyal to your brand overall. We have to do visual and communication and then UI UX design, because we're going with UI design first, do visual and communication for clearing the basics. I think visual design is a de facto. You, in any case, need to know visual design. So there is no way, you can just do UX design and not do visual design. I think the way we work in this world and how we are changing as designers is everyone is now becoming hybrid designer. So if you don't know about the aesthetics, if you don't know about the UI component library, the psychology of color, right? You won't be able to integrate certain things in your interaction designs. Okay, so you need to know both the worlds very well in order to be a hybrid or a full-fledged UX UI designer. Can we do minor in product designing too? I think so. But I'm very sorry. I'm actually not very well versed with the product designing world, so won't be able to answer that one, Janvi. I'm sorry. All right. Any other questions? I
So
think
there is a question as well, which was asked in the very start of the session as well. That what is the possibility of that the AI technology taking over the jobs of UX design? This is one of the most discussed topic as well.
Yeah.
I would like to like if you can share your views on that as well, sir.
Yeah. See, I think eventually AI in not five, but I would say in 10 years of time would be so matured that they would be able to come up with, let's say, templates. Like if I just type in, create a website landing page template for a banking banking website, they would be able to design it, and I think they can do it now also. But the thing is, they are not matured enough as of now. Okay, the generative AI is not so matured enough that it can work on the human angle that we put in the designs. Okay, so there are certain. So I think what's more important is that you understand how you can use generative AI or Chat GPT to your benefit, and how you can reduce certain efforts while designing a product. So, for example, you can actually create a script on Chat GPT, right? So then that lorem ipsum script can be generated through Chat GPT. You can look at certain good color schemes on generative AI. You can add generative AI as a chatbot in one of the in your prototypes, or maybe in your final product. It won't be a foolproof thing, but it will give you a sense of how the users would work in the real time. So but I think AI will not be able to take over. See, there has been, I mean, in every generation, there have been certain technologies which have been considered, consequential, or maybe, threat to the potential of, let's say, art, or, visual imagination, or maybe to people who work on such creative jobs. But a creative job is something that only a human can do. What Chat GPT or an AI tool can do is gather data points, and based on that, present certain design or certain aspect. But they'll not be able to replace the usability testing or the user research that you would do on the ground with, let's say, 10, 15, 20 customers, maybe, uh, in real time. They will never be able to replace that. So those insights, right, and those that thought process is something that the AI will never be able to take over. Okay, can we talk about universal design and inclusive design? Yeah, inclusive design is something we just talked about, right? How to celebrate ethnicity, how to celebrate culture, how to feel everyone welcomed. So you have to look at the entire spectrum of your customers. You have to see, who all are using your product or your platform. You have to look at the demographic. Okay, and that's how you try to create an inclusive design. People of different races, people of different opinions, right? People of different colors, faiths, cultures, they should all be celebrated. They should all feel that, this product is not biased. This product does not favor certain user segments. This actually enables everyone to do the same job with same productivity. Okay. And yeah, and universal design is, again, universal design means meeting a user's mental model. So if today, there's a certain way, let's say, if I know what a voice command visually represent, or what icon represents a visual voice command, I should use that kind of design wherever I have to embed, let's say, a voice search, or have to uh, let the user know that you can click on this and can start voice instructions, right? So that is a universal design where you actually try to map users' existing mental model, okay, and then help them in reducing that learning curve when they are using your product. For example, if let's say you are creating a product or an app where, let's say, you want to launch a feature exactly like Instagram story, right? So you should not go ahead and reinvent the wheel of how I should go and do about it. You just launch the same top horizontal bar on your product, and you will see that people will effortlessly start looking at those posts or stories that you build on your platform, because they are accustomed to that language. They are accustomed to that design. They know that all those circles at the top means that there are stories or there are posts for certain seconds which I can go through. So it's a universal design, okay? And that's so you should always learn from the products and tools which are in the market, well established, successful, and try to get inspiration from there, and then incorporate those points in your designs. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, so guys, it's been great to be part of this session. I really enjoyed. I hope you had a great time. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir, for your time and all your knowledge which you can share with us. It was great having this session with you, and we would love to connect back again and have some more sessions like this with you. Thank you so much for your time, sir. Thank you.
Sure. And all the best, everyone. Have a good day and have a good weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thanks.